Farming and crofting is often a multi-generational game where family members muck in to lend a hand. In the beautiful Clyde Valley in Lanarkshire, 3 generations of the Young family are involved in running Overton Farm, Shop and Butchery, supplying a wide range of their own homegrown produce. Encouraging the next generation to pursue their ambitions is a big part of the family ethos, and has resulted in Jack Young recently being crowned the winner of the Agri-Scott Business Skills Award 2022.
I'm Jack Young. I'm a 3rd generation here at Overton Farm. We're in the heart of the Clyde Valley. Predominantly farming beef cattle here, and along with an arable enterprise. We run about 150 suckler cows, finishing everything ourselves on our own homegrown feed and putting most of it through our on-site farm shop and through the butchery and our on-site farm shop, and now in recent years also through our tea room. The breed of cattle we work here with predominantly is limousine cattle. We do also have some shorthorn and some Herefords. The limousine cattle really do work for us, as we're not selling cattle we're not selling fat bullocks on a weekly basis. We are just using them for ourselves as and when we need them. And the limousine just have that ability to sit in the court for a little bit longer than what the native breeds do before they go fat and patchy and too overdone. We grow about 250 acres of cereal crop, predominantly spring barley. However, we do grow winter wheat and spring oats as well, which most of this is fed to our cattle throughout the winter months. Our fattening cattle are on about 5 kilos per day of a mix of barley and wheat, and our rearers are on about 2 kilos a day of barley and oats 50-50 mix. We really find this does well for us. It's a reduced cost of we're not buying in any concentrate or protein. We also grow 15 acres of potatoes on farm. This is really to service the farm shop. It gives us, they're sold in 25 kilo bags through the farm shop, as well as individual kilos, and also now in the recent years since the coffee shop's opened, they are sold as chips through the coffee shop. So any broke potatoes or waste chips or anything goes to full usage of feeding finishing cattle as well. I've been on this farm all my days. When we were younger, we used to always be sent to work in the shop, or we would also do bits with cattle and things when we were younger. So we really have been. It's been bred into us. When I left school in 5th year, after I was probably forced to stay for a final year, but it probably did me good. I went on and done an HND at both SRUC Barony, and then done my 2nd year of the HND at SRUC Oatridge. When I left Oatridge, that winter I went to New Zealand for 6 months, travelling from the North Island right out down through and down to right to the south of the South Island, where I probably learnt a lot of new farming techniques and seen a lot of different cultures and ways of doing things that can be brought home and adapted to here. In New Zealand, there's a lot of farmers can produce crop and animal on a cheaper scale, on a scale that seems to be a lower input and still maximises output, I would say. A lot of people outwintering cattle and outwintering, well, just sheep working on forage crops, things like that. We now actually do grow this year we've got 50 acres of stubble turnips in behind winter barley, which I would say this probably did come from New Zealand, which we're grazing a neighbour's lambs on just now, which will eventually go through the farm shop. So at Agri-Scott this year I was lucky enough to win the Business Skills Award. You have to be under 25 to enter it. You go through a semi-final stage, and then the final 3 candidates get to compete in front of a panel of judges at Agri-Scott itself. The semi-final stage, it consisted of going to an on-farm visit and walking around with a judge and a mentor to pick up on your technical knowledge, your financial knowledge, as well as your financial acumen. At the semi-final, there was about 15 people competed, and a couple of weeks later I got the good news that I had made the final 3 competing at AgriScot. For the final you had to submit a written statement on a topic, which was, this year was environmental considerations within agriculture, and then you had to evaluate one of the final 11 products that were up for the Innovation Award at AgriScot. The product we got was the GEA's Dairy Feed F4500, which is like an automated feed kitchen that we had to evaluate. So on the Tuesday before AgriScot, we got 5 minutes each. Each of the 3 finals get 5 minutes to talk through with Dairy Flow, who sell GEA products, what their pros, all their pros, and basically make a sales pitch up to us of why their product should be bought with it on the open market. We then had that evening to go out and turn it round about and completely evaluate the product, put it into a financial situation off our own back, and be ready to present this in front of the judges the next morning at 9 AM. We didn't, however, know that we were to be taken out for dinner at 6 o'clock that night as well, and that took up a lot of time, which we probably should have been writing our reports. But no, on the Wednesday AgriScot, I was lucky enough to be crowned the Business Skills winner this year, and yeah, I was delighted of it.
As a young farmer early in his career, Jack relished the opportunity to participate in the AgriScot Business Skills Award, which opened many doors and expanded his network for the future.
Yeah, the Business Skills Award really was a great experience. The amount of networking you can do within the amount of people there. We went out for dinner on the Tuesday night, and there was a lot of big names there from various different jobs within the agricultural sector, and you sat next to them at dinner and you rotated round about to speak to somebody different in between each course, sort of thing. And the amount of people that you meet and you learn, you might know their names, but you can put names to faces, was tremendous. So it was. Yeah, the other 2 finalists, 2 girls, a girl from Aberdeenshire and a girl from Crieff, were really good company, and there was a good social aspect to it as well. There was competition, but it was friendly competition.
Entering competitions like AgriScot isn't for everyone, but Jack encourages fellow young farmers to grasp opportunities which are out there in the industry. Between
putting myself forward and entering these competitions, there's enjoyment to get out of it, as well as never shut any doors that are half open for you, sort of thing. Give everything a go, I would say. With these competitions, it certainly expands your network, and yeah, you meet a lot of good people. Yeah, so if somebody was starting their career in agriculture, I would definitely say never close any doors. Never close any doors. Grasp everything with 2 hands and run with it. And don't be scared to take risks. There's some people who maybe take risks that don't pay off, but you learn from them. And taking risks definitely gets you places in life.
In the future, Jack hopes to follow in his family's footsteps and continue to develop the farm shop and butchery businesses.
I'm John Young, one of the partners in the business here at Overton Farm. We run the farm and the farm shop and the coffee shop. Farm shop's been here for over 35 years, not just exactly sure how long. The reason we opened the farm shop, way back in the day, we used to sell eggs and turnips and tatties and things up at the farm, and my brother used to get fed up having to leave his dinner plate and go and serve the eggs and tatties and things, and the suggestion around the dinner table was that we could have a farm shop. We decided one night we maybe would have a shot at butchering, and Father, being the type of guy he is, I'd heard that there was a butchery for let just maybe 5 miles from us, and it was late on a Friday night, and they decided that was the time to go and speak to the man late on a Friday night. I said, well, a wee bit late at night. No, come on, let's go. So we went up into the dark, up at the back of Carluke, and chapped the guy's door, and the following week we took over the butchery, contacted the butcher that he had working for him. He came and worked part-time for us and worked up there for maybe a couple of years, just prepping stuff, bringing it down to the shop, offering it for sale, selling some of it, putting a lot of it in the freezer, putting a lot in my mother's freezer, putting a lot in my auntie's freezer. But finally you build up a clientele as part of the farm shop, and we finally decided to go for a farm shop here in the farm, make it more easy and accessible. When we decided to do that, we wanted to make sure that we could expand the range of what we could do. So not only is it just a butchery for the farm shop, we are actually a European licensed cutting plant for cutting meat for other people. So we do a bit of contract work for local farmers. It's not our main business. Sometimes we could do without as much, but it keeps the guys busy in some of the times when we're quiet. At the moment, we've got a kind of 2-month lead time for contract work. It's just there's so much on. But no, it works fine, and the butchery is working away fine there, and it just feeds the farm shop. All just works hand in hand the way we want it to do. We raise the cattle on the farm. They're bred here, they're reared here, they're fattened here. The only time they go off the farm is to Wishaw Abattoir, which is only maybe 5 or 6 miles away. So they go there, and then we bring them back in their own refrigerated vans, and that's the only time they're off the farm. The main reason for the shop is to sell our produce from the farm. At the time when we built the shop, we were growing a lot of fruit and vegetables for the supermarkets. Came away from that because the supermarkets, in my mind, are not particularly kind to farmers. We're in a very lucky position where we can direct market things. So the shop was primarily there for selling tatties, vegetables, eggs, and it just snowballs from there. The farm is there to feed the shop, to feed the coffee shop. We've got a breeding herd of about 150 suckler cows, breeding off of them, calving in 2 batches now. We used to just calve in the spring. We've got a small batch calving in the autumn now to help give us a spread of beef for the whole year. Primarily Limousin bull, but we've got shorthorn bull now in there as well. Rearing them right through to somewhere between 24 to 30 months until they're fat. Reared on all homegrown produce as well. We don't buy in any concentrated feed at all for the cattle, which we're kind of proud of, but we didn't actually think that was anything to be proud of, but seemingly it is. So they're getting fed barley, oats and tatties, silage and straw, and they do great. We pick maybe 4 or 5 cattle every fortnight to go to Wishaw Abattoir, where they'll be killed, and we can hang them there. We've got a good relationship with the guys at Wishaw. We can hang them there for 2 to 3 weeks, bring them back as and when the butchers request them, and get them boned out in the butchery, and we can mature them again in the vacuum pack for another week or so after that. All works very well. We even put through, there's nothing goes away really much for sale. There's some prime cattle go away to Scot beef just because we've got a wee excess just now. But bulls, old cows, anything at all goes through the butchery. We're always sort of desperate for mincing product and for steak pie product. We sell a lot of steak pies. We're in Lanarkshire, it's a heart of steak pie capital of Scotland. So bulls, old cows, all come back and go through the butchery.
Many hospitality and retail businesses are finding it harder to attract and retain staff. At Overton Farm, Shop and Butchery, there's a great community spirit, and John is proud to support local people within nearby towns and villages.
Getting good staff who buy into what we're doing is quite difficult. I think the guys we've got just now are just tremendous. That's a big part of it. Matthew in the butchery there, he's been here probably since he was 15. He was working out in the field, and then we needed a butcher's assistant. So we said to him, do you fancy having a shot at butchery? All in-house trained, so the guy at that time trained Matthew up. We still have a good relationship with the butcher who was here, Alan Elliott. He's got a shop in Lanarkshire now. So Alan and I work very close together. If he needs product and we've got it, he'll get it. He buys bits and pieces for his shop, tatties and eggs and onions and things. But no, the guys are very good, and I'm quite proud of the fact, I keep saying we've got quite a young team. They are still quite young in butchers' terms, but they do work very well together. And you do need people who buy into it, you know. Some of the girls that are working in there, they're all local girls, and they know the family, and we know their families, and all some of their families used to work out in the field when we were cutting lettuces and pulling leeks and digging tatties and things, you know, so there is a fair history about it. We are very lucky that the sort of two sides of the family, William's family and my family, got on very well. I do think it's very heartening as the kids were all growing up. They all worked in the shop, they've all done bits and pieces in the shop, and they've spent time with mum and dad. We'll have a kind of, people laugh when I say it, I mean farmers, I'm a big guy, and the reason I'm a big guy is my mum always provides a 3-course meal in the middle of the day, and folks say, how do you manage that? I say, well, it's quite important. A, I like my food, and B, it's a board meeting. We've got a board meeting every day, you know. I'm usually late for it, as you probably noticed today when you are here, I'm not always in time. But it's quite important you sit down around the table and you can either discuss what's happened in the morning or you can discuss what's happening in the afternoon. We've diversified a lot, we've done a lot of different things. Some people who don't know us particularly well, I'll say, oh, you still got a farm? Yes, we do. This doesn't work with it, the farm behind it. We've got to have Jack and Wassels produce the cattle for us to put through the butchery. They produce the tatties to put through the shop. It all works hand in hand. It's kind of the way it should be, you know. We shouldn't just be relying on food. Food in the world just now is just a commodity. It's not to us. Food is what we produce and what we sell.
As Jack becomes more involved in the business over the next few years, there's one thing which remains core to his farming principles.
We take on a lot of farm visits with Lorette and do a leaf open farm Sunday sort of thing. I do see this has been probably quite a big bit in the future of the business, just showing the consumer where their food actually does come from and what it is they're actually eating compared to the cheaper alternatives that are on the market. The food production system that we run in Scotland really is underrated and second to none compared to the rest of the world. So in going future, I would like to see us still producing good food and showing the public how we do it within that.
We're in midwinter, in mid-December, and the weather's turned. It's definitely getting colder as people are putting up their Christmas trees and getting their Christmas shopping ready. We've been busy at the surveillance hubs helping practitioners investigate outbreaks of disease too. We continue to be vigilant for outbreaks of avian influenza in the country. It's a big problem down south. It's less of a problem at the moment in Scotland. But all poultry keepers are urged to be extremely vigilant and to practice enhanced biosecurity measures. If you do suspect avian influenza, it's important that you do contact APHA immediately. Remember though that it's not just avian influenza that causes disease in birds at this time of year. Often at this time of year in turkeys being reared for Christmas, we'll see disease called blackhead, which is caused by a tiny protozoal parasite. That can cause liver damage, it can cause gut damage, and this tiny parasite is transmitted by gut worms. And so it's really important that we get the right diagnosis so that the right treatments can be given to prevent further losses. As is typical at this time of year, we're getting lots of reports of pneumonia or respiratory disease in housed cattle. We need to remember this is a multifactorial disease, and so it's important to consider what management practices you can tighten up on to minimise the risk of disease. So can you increase ventilation? Can you decrease humidity? Can you decrease stocking density? What bugs are involved? It's important that if you're going to get your vet out to take samples to find the cause of pneumonia, that these samples are taken very early in the course of the disease. So ideally before the calves have had any treatment, when they've just got a fever and a clear discharge from the eyes or nose. If they start getting a really snotty discharge, then it's too late. The bugs might have come and gone, so testing at that stage might not be of benefit. But this might help inform whether vaccination could help control the disease outbreak going forward. With this colder weather, be aware that pipes can freeze. You might get a disruption of water to your livestock, and this can be really dangerous. If you've got in-lamb ewes, then this can be a stressful event, and just that interruption to water supply could trigger hypocalcemia, and ewes might become recumbent if that was the case. Another possibility is that the water deprivation can be so severe that they can get brain changes similar to CCN, and in that case they would appear blind. We can get these sorts of changes in the brain from water deprivation for other reasons as well, so not just frozen pipes. At this time of year, sometimes people will be housing lambs to get them fattened, and if these lambs have never had to drink from water troughs before, they might not know where their water is, and that can result in them being short of water and getting these signs as well. So just remember, this time of year, it's not just in hot weather that we need to make sure they've got plenty of water. In colder weather, make sure the pipes aren't frozen as well. Well, that's the last vet update for 2022. I hope you have a lovely Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.